Thank you very much. I wish you all a very good evening. Distinguished guests, esteemed investors, policymakers, and entrepreneurs. It is an honor to address you at the IVCA Conclave 2025, a platform that brings together the brightest minds shaping India's entrepreneurial ecosystem. Today, India is navigating through transformational changes, leading to economic development, social progress, and global leadership. As entrepreneurs, investors, academicians, and policymakers, each one of us is a critical stakeholder in building the robust entrepreneurial ecosystem that we envision for our country. At SIDBI, we take immense pride in leading this change. Our mission is to nurture startups, empower MSMEs, and create an environment where innovation thrives. Over the years, we have introduced a wide range of initiatives that provide crucial financial support, from equity investments to venture capital and debt financing, ensuring that startups have the resources they need to scale and succeed. Coming to the journey of SIDBI in building the ecosystem of growth, SIDBI's journey mirrors the evolution of India's entrepreneurial ecosystem. When we began in the 1990s, the concept of venture capital was still in its infancy, and startups were far from being the economic powerhouse that they are today. Our role, therefore, was not just to provide funding, but to lay the foundation of an ecosystem that could support and sustain innovation. Over the years, SIDBI has introduced a wide array of products and schemes that cater to startups across different stages of their life cycle, from equity support to venture capital, from debt products to innovative financing solutions. We have ensured that entrepreneurs in India have access to the resources they need to grow. Today, we are proud to see how these efforts have culminated in making India the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, a journey fueled by resilience, collaboration, and a shared vision for growth. Coming to the transformational impact of the Fund of Funds for Startups, which you mentioned right before I stepped here. One of SIDBI's most important and impactful contributions has been administering the Fund of Funds for Startups initiative launched by DPIIT. This 10,000 crore corpus has been a game changer, transforming the landscape of venture capital and startup funding in India. Let me share a few highlights of this initiative. Just for your information, the corpus of 10,000 crore that was given to us, we were required to commit the 10,000 crore by March 2026. But I'm happy to share with you that by December 2023, we were able to commit the entire 10,000 crore of the corpus. And as of today, the total commitments stand more than 11,200 crore. That is because some of the early investments that we had made have started giving us returns, and the returns are getting flowed back into the corpus, and we are redeploying them. One of the most important objectives of the FFS set up by the Government of India was to catalyze domestic capital into the VC ecosystem in the country, because earlier we were largely dependent on foreign capital or global capital coming in. The purpose of FFS was therefore to catalyze the domestic capital, and I'm happy to say that we have achieved that objective in a very big way. The FFS scheme has not only facilitated investments of around 91,000 crore, but also created a multiplier effect by mobilizing additional capital. The drawals and investments made so far have empowered around 1,200 startups, many of which are now making significant contributions to India's economic growth. The startups in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities often struggle to access funding, but FFS has changed that narrative. Over 2,107 crore has so far been invested in 177 startups in these cities, democratizing access to funding and fostering inclusive growth. The startups supported under FFS has created 22 unicorns and generated 2 lakh direct jobs, demonstrating the transformative power of innovation-driven entrepreneurship. Coming to the focus on emerging sectors, green tech, artificial intelligence, and more. As we look forward, we must align our efforts with emerging global trends. Climate change, technological disruption, and geopolitical shifts have created new challenges, but also new opportunities. SIDBI is committed to focusing on sunrise sectors that will define the next phase of India's growth. Startups in AI, robotics, and other deep tech sectors are solving some of the most complex challenges facing the industry today. SIDBI is working closely with these innovators, ensuring that they have the support they need to scale and compete globally. The funding gap at the ideation stage and seed stage remains a critical challenge. Under the recent initiatives to support the India of tomorrow, SIDBI is now nurturing startups at the early stage through incubator support scheme. Through this initiative, we are working towards filling the funding gaps in pre-seed ideation stage startups and other priority areas in collaboration with incubators by setting up investment corpus with eminent educational institutions such as the IITs, IIMs, etc. to achieve this goal. Just for your information, we realize that there is a lot of funding from various departments and ministries of the Government of India which is available to the incubation centers. But a majority of these funds actually goes in creating the incubation infrastructure, and very little actually goes as investments in the incubating companies or the startups. And even if it goes, the check size is pretty small, which may not be very meaningful for them for their growth strategy. So what SIDBI wanted to do was to move away from the grant system, because grant comes with its own challenges. And we wanted to make it a commercial endeavor so that the necessary discipline is instilled in the entire investment process. So the first institution that we spoke with was IIT Kanpur's Incubation Center, where we said that we are willing to set up a corpus with you. You invest out of this corpus into the eligible startups. You do your screening, you have your investment committee, you do the due diligence, but invest on my behalf through the funds that I provide to you, to ensure that the incubation center continues to handhold the startup till the next level of funding or till the startup commercializes the product. We agree to share a part of the carry or the capital gains with the incubation center. And we are also providing a small grant facility to the incubation center to take care of its management expenses. So essentially, we are treating the incubation center as our fund manager. So we started with IIT Kanpur and set up a corpus of 10 crore rupees. This idea was caught on by the other incubation centers across other academic institutions, and they also approached us for setting up similar corpuses with them. I'm happy to share with you that today we have set up corpuses with 16 such incubation centers across the country with aggregate corpus of 121 crore. Now, SIDBI has also been very nimble in understanding and appreciating the requirements of different startups in different sectors. So in one of the meetings which was convened by the Honorable Finance Minister, where the Defense Ministry was also present, we were told that the startups and the SMEs who win the challenges of IDEX are given a grant support by IDEX for developing their products, which if it passes the trials of the defense forces, then they are assured of the first order from the defense forces. Now, to ensure that the grant support given by IDEX is put to good use and they do not develop a product only for civilian purposes, IDEX requires these SMEs and startups to come up with a matching contribution. The founders are required to come up with a matching contribution, which means if IDEX gives a grant of 1 crore rupees, then the founders of the startup or the MSMEs are also required to bring in 1 crore rupees. Many of these startups who were really early stage startups were finding it difficult to bring in the matching contribution. And it so happened that that IDEX was referring these incubating companies or these defense startup winners, the challenge winners, to the incubation centers for incubation. So we then decided to set up a separate corpus specifically for the IDEX challenge winners with the academic institutions, with these incubation centers. And today we have set up such corpuses of 5 crore each with 7 incubation centers across the country, specifically and only for the startups who have won the challenges of IDEX and are into defense production. So this is the way SIDBI very quickly understands the requirements of these startups in different sectors and comes up with suitable products to meet their requirements. Coming to building India's global leadership and a Viksit Bharat at 2047, India's aspirations for Viksit Bharat 2047 require us to think big and act decisively. The foundation of this vision lies in creating an entrepreneurial ecosystem that is not just innovative, but also inclusive and globally competitive. To establish India as a global manufacturing hub, we must support startups that focus on advanced manufacturing, supply chain management, and export-oriented growth. SIDBI is already working on initiatives to strengthen these sectors. The next wave of growth will come from Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, which are home to immense untapped potential. By fostering startups in these regions, we can ensure that growth is both equitable and inclusive. Collaboration, again, is key to scaling our efforts. SIDBI is actively exploring partnership with global investors, state governments, and academic institutions to create a framework that drives sustainable growth. Coming to government support, building upon the success of the existing AIFs, the government during the budget session for FY 25-26 has announced a new 10,000 crore fund of funds to support high-growth startups and entrepreneurship. This expands the scope of government-backed AIFs and supplements the existing 10,000 crore fund, boosting small businesses funding to foster innovation and growth. A deep tech fund of funds is also being explored to support and catalyze the next generation of startups as part of this initiative. To conclude, we all need to come together and contribute to this vision of Viksit Bharat at 2047, which is about creating a future that is inclusive, sustainable, and globally competitive. At SIDBI, we remain committed to being a catalyst for this growth, supporting entrepreneurs who will shape India's destiny. Thank you very much.